Daisy.
And I'm Terry.
And this is the Monday Mindset Podcast,
where we share things of interest to us and hopefully to you.
So let's get started with episode number 281.
And this week, it's Daisy's turn. Daisy, what do you have for us this week?
Well, Terry, I have something a little bit different. I will just set the scene. Despite having fed my voice notes while I was out on a dog walk to ChatGPT, who summarised them, I said specifically, can you summarise them, because I tend to ramble on. I'm going to ramble on a little bit. I was out on my dog walk. My brain was just chugging away, thinking about different things. And the comment that you'd made at the beginning of your mosquitoes episode, we were talking about sort of going off the whole mindset thing, and it got me thinking, Monday mindset. But actually, we share all sorts of things. It's never really been specific that we have to share mindset, but it did sort of come up with that, starting the week with a mindset behavior type thing, but whatever we're talking about. So I was sort of thinking about that. And then I was thinking of a slightly different Monday mindset, one that is very familiar to me. You can see my brain has all these little bits of things churning away in the background, usually while I'm out on a dog walk. We've done an episode on this somewhere, haven't we? When as you're doing some kind of activity that you don't need a lot of thought for, but you're moving and your brain can just tick away and come up with ideas and be creative and think things through. I tend to do that very well when I'm on a dog walk, and this time I took some voice notes to remind myself. But I was thinking about, I think it was the TFM podcast episode that you've recorded, I think's out at the moment, will be sometime in the past when this episode comes out. It was the 3 mindset realities, I think. But all these sort of things were feeding in, and it got me to thinking about the particular mindset of Mondays that has been a stumbling block for me, and that's the whole I'll start my diet on Monday, or I'll start whatever it is on Monday. I'll just have the weekend. And that, when it comes to being food orientated, that's usually because I've been on a downward slope, a downward spiral of eating all the things, and that just gets totally over the top, and I get into quite an anxious state and overbuying and overstocking, because heaven forfend that I should run out of any of these items. So I have that combination of I'll start being good in quotation marks on Monday, but I also really, really hate waste. So I have to finish what I've got because I can't bear to throw it away. Now, sometimes I've given it away. Very occasionally I've thrown it away, but I hate to do that. I really do. So there's this combination that often means that come Monday, I've still got some stuff, because no matter how much I've tried to eat over the weekend, there's still some left. And because I can't throw it away, I have to carry on Monday. And of course, then Monday's gone. So it becomes next Monday. You get the idea. The whole process goes round and round and round. And of course, this I'll start on Monday is also I'll start on January the 1st. I'll start when the kids go back to school in September. I know September is a big month at TFM for sort of a fresh start feeling. Whatever it is for you, I think most of us are probably familiar with that. And I know this is something that you talk about, not necessarily specifically, but in general terms, you will have lots of wisdom about this. So I just thought it would be a good discussion topic to have, that we could go back and forth and throw some ideas about.
Yeah, I think this is a huge challenge for many of us. And I think it's typically good intentioned, but doesn't get us where we want to be oftentimes. And so, yeah, for me, it just makes me think of so many things. And one of the things I notice about many of us, I think you're a great example of this. I am, to some extent, I'm a little less planful than you are. But so many clients that I work with, so many people that I know spend a lot of their days planning.
Mm-hmm.
And it decreases their anxiety to have a good plan, to know how everything's going to go, all of the pieces in place. But if you think about it, there is part of that that delays action.
Yeah.
And what I have found with some people is it is a learned strategy of avoidance. It feels productive to be planning. I'm doing something toward this goal, but it's not the actual action steps yet. And they keep planning and then they change that plan and then they never get there. So oftentimes Monday never comes.
Mm.
It becomes Tuesday. It becomes 3 weeks from now, Monday. It becomes January 30th. It becomes June. I think another reason why many of us do this kind of Monday, I'll do it Monday, I'll start that at first of the month, is that it helps us feel good to know that we are going to do what we know should happen for us or what would be good for us. And we're not fully ready psychologically, emotionally, whatever's going on in our lives, but it feels good to have that decision made. It kind of takes a little bit of the tension away for us. Except then we kick the can down the road and we keep making that decision over and over and over. And again, if you think about it, for some of us, there's a little bit of a dopamine hit in that. Oh, I'm going to do that on Monday. Oh, now I feel relief. That tension or pain that I was experiencing about this task or whatever, I feel some ease about now.
Yeah, and there's dopamine release with anticipation, isn't there? We've talked about this with eating certain foods, actually, that the dopamine you get from the anticipation is often much better than actually the first bite.
And from the decision itself.
Yeah.
Knowing I'm going to have it now. There's the dopamine. And so I think in this way, kind of thinking about this topic and whatever our specific pattern with it is, I think it's really important, again, not to pathologize ourselves, not to say, oh, well, that's because I'm really undisciplined or I'm really lazy. I must not have a good enough reason to do this. Rather than kind of pathologizing ourselves, to maybe think, maybe I keep planning and keep setting that date as an attempt to reduce some of my discomfort. How can I take that next step and act on that decision? And, one thing I encourage is maybe make the timeline a little closer. Oftentimes we put it far enough away that we don't feel the tension of that. Oh, I'll schedule that next month. Okay, now I feel better. Versus, okay, today is Thursday. I'll do that tomorrow. Now, as an Olympic quality gold medalist in procrastination, I can share that for me, almost any timeline that I create is inaccurate. Unless I say I'm going to do it right now and I get up and start moving. Otherwise, it is wishful thinking. It is kind of placating that part of my brain that feels the tension that we've got to get this done. Sometimes it's to placate other people. My partner will say, when are you going to clean out your closet? And I'll say, oh, well, I've got all weekend. I'll do it this weekend. I can't even claim that my intention is that good about doing it on the weekend. It just feels good to have an answer and to be able to put it off a little bit. And so, really just encouraging people to dig into what is my strategy of picking a time in the future for that plan to happen? Why did I pick that time? What systems do I have in place to actually make sure that I do it on that day or, start whenever I say I'm going to start? And I do think so many of the things that many of us do this Monday mindset with are things we could just start right now.
Yeah.
Someone recently just shared that quote with me again, like you are one step away from changing your life, making one decision that changes momentum on something. And putting off that moment leaves it vulnerable to not happen. And so really choosing more often, if it's of value to me, I can start it right now. it made me think of when I started June 1st of 2024, when I became totally sugar-free. Now, that was my chosen date, and I chose it in the middle of May. And I chose it because, to be honest, what I thought was, I've got a couple more weeks and I can have some sugar before I have to start. So again, another reason.
Often goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
I get to have this all out, almost like, party feeling about it until the deadline actually comes. And I knew that's what I was doing. I kind of admitted it to myself. Yeah, I want some more opportunities before I'm ready to really commit. The funny thing is, I was on a trip at the time, and I think I may have eaten some sugar on that trip, but I came home, and where we live, it's not easy to go get something. I don't have sugar in the house. I did go to the grocery store a couple times, but I was usually in a hurry and everything. All of a sudden, it was June 1st. And I never did those other sugar excursions that I had kind of left room for. And there was part of my brain that said, I can't start now. I need those 2 weeks to have some more or whatever. And I just followed through and I said, well, I guess if you didn't have it now, you're not going to have it. But, really kind of look at your patterns of what is my Monday mindset doing for me? How is it that I'm using it in ways that I think it's helping me? And is it actually helping me? Because then I can try to change the pattern. But I think rather than just saying, oh, I'm no longer going to set a date or postpone something, really look at, why are you postponing? What do you need? Do you need to set up something between now and when you say you're going to do it? And if you do, are you taking those steps? Because that's often another tactic I will use. I'll set the time because I have to do these prep things, but I don't do the prep things. So come Monday, I can't do the thing. So really just starting to dig into looking at your pattern and seeing what happens. How does it work? Do I like how it works? Does it serve me well? Or, man, does it hold me back? And then we can start looking at, how do I change my pattern?
Yeah, it's so individual, isn't it? And there are so many other things that come in, like the whole all or nothing thing. Mm-hmm. You've talked about the pendulum swinging from one side to the other. It made me think when we were just talking about dopamine and anticipation, and I'm reminded of a conversation we had that I mentioned briefly just now, but the conversation we had about, it was the anticipation of going and getting a particular ice cream for me and crying while I was eating it. I've brought this up so many times, but it was thinking about this anticipation and the dopamine actually peaking earlier than you think it's going to. So as you were saying, it comes in with that decision making part and the anticipation. And what you think is that you're heading towards the peak at that point, or at least this is how I thought it went with this food or any food that you have in mind. And that I sort of imagine the peak of that would be that first bite, and then it would sort of be that downhill. But what I didn't appreciate was that I'd already peaked, and so I was already on the downward trajectory once I started. And so I was just sort of thinking of that kind of graph as I was thinking about this, making the decision to start on, say, Monday. Now, whenever you've made that, it's sometime before, and it's probably not 11:59 on Sunday night. It's, a good few days before, at least. But I was just thinking, well, if that sort of dopamine has peaked when you've made that decision and you're on the downward slide, it's actually no wonder when you start doing that thing, you're already coming down. Your mood is dropping. That dopamine's long in the past, really. And you're feeling more of a sort of punishment mindset. Oh, yeah, But you're not feeling that upbeat that if you'd made it the second before you started, you could ride that wave and at least start with that sort of optimism and the dopamine flooding around. I know dopamine doesn't work exactly like that, but you get what I'm saying. You're not starting on that sort of high that you're feeling. You're already coming down, and who knows how far down that slope you are. And I know for me, I have really been quite aware more and more every time I've done this, that I've gotten to a point where I'm overdoing the food or whatever it is, binge watching TV or whatever it is, usually food, that it feels like punishment. I can kind of really be feeling the effects that I'm having on my body, and it gets to a level where it feels like punishment, hence the bawling my eyes out while I'm eating too much ice cream. It's that kind of feeling, you know. It's almost a relief in some ways when Monday comes to stop punishing myself. Yeah, it's also still hard. So you're right in really sort of sitting down and trying to map out a bit of a timeline, try and figure out what's going on behind it. And then only then, when you're really aware of everything that's going on, or as aware as you can be, maybe you have to ask ChatGPT for some pointers. I've discovered they're very good at giving you a non-emotional response. It might be, yes, then that's when you can step in, as you say, and maybe you need to get some help for this, but that's when you can step in and start creating some strategies to help you the next time it happens or the next time something similar happens.
And I think an important question that we all could ask ourselves in those moments is, what would it be like to start now? What would it be like to do it today?
Yeah.
Or is there one part of it I can start today? Because again, I think sometimes we make the task or the change that we're looking to do, we make it feel overwhelming. And so I need until Monday to be ready mentally to do that. And I need to get my ducks in a row. What if we take some of the enormity out of it and just ask ourselves, what's one thing toward it that I could do right now? Start getting a little dopamine going for achieving parts of it now.
Yeah.
Make it feel less necessary to delay or postpone.
Yeah. And also, especially if you have done that, so it's not such a big milestone when you get to that day, month, whatever it is. But if things don't go completely according to plan, you don't just give up and set a new start time.
That's right.
You know, sort of, well, okay, yeah, what have I learnt from that? What went wrong? What went right?
Yeah, that analogy of
keep going.
Falling off the wagon. My analogy of like getting off the horse. The hard part is getting back on the wagon, getting back on the horse. What if instead of saying, I'm jumping off, if we say, okay, I'm still here, I'm still on this, and I'm struggling, what do I need to tweak? But I'm staying on. Rather than, all right, I'm going to jump off and I'll pick another start date.
Yeah.
I'll do this when, and make up a lot of reasons that we can't do it now and when we will be able to do it. And really just say, it doesn't matter. I'm already doing it. I'm struggling with it. What would help me feel stronger right now? What would help me feel more competent with this?
And how can I just sort of keep hanging on a bit? It was one of your TFM episodes. I forget the exact episode that it was. It all becomes a bit of a blur when I've got my editing hat on. But I have a feeling it was an episode you recorded with Coach Amy Medling, and I just loved it. I thought it was fantastic. They were saying that going to the group meetings in the TFM community was, and I forget exactly how they worded it, but they were struggling and they were sort of off the wagon, as it were. But just by going to the meetings, they could sort of keep a hand on, a hand in. I forget exactly how they put it, but I really liked it. It was, you know, that image to me was just, well, I'm just going to hold on to this. So I'm not completely off. I haven't completely let go. I'm just kind of holding on to something that means, yeah, it's just a bit on pause for me. but I know there are people there to help when I pick it back up.
Yeah. And I don't have to wait and make a plan for when I'll start again because my
No.
hand's still in it.
Yeah.
I'm still
I really like
still
that.
holding the wagon. I might be leaning off on the side, but I'm still in it. And I think that's a really powerful shift because a lot of us are used to, in some way of seeing it, kind of abandoning the effort.
Completely.
Yes, which means I will have to decide to engage again.
Yeah.
And there's where the challenge really is. Versus I'm still in it, holding on, but I really need to shift some things. I need some more support. I need to give myself more time to develop it or whatever, but I'm not going to let go right now. It's really big.
Yeah. I knew it would be an interesting discussion. The Monday sort of reset mindset, I suppose it is, the all or nothing, the whatever you like to call it, but just
I'll do it when.
the dangers of it. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe some things to think about how we can interrupt that pattern.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Well, until I see you next time, I hope you and everyone at home, of course, has a very wonderful week.
Take good care, everyone.